Hi guys, it's Susie for Bello's Designs. Today on Nia's adventure, we're going to be wrapping her up into what I'm calling the ultimate book. What do I mean by the ultimate book? Not only is it a book, but it's going to give a gift to those you care about. It's going to give a gift to you. It's also going to be a book full of memories. All right, so if you have little ones in your life, whether they're yours or someone else's, or perhaps you have somebody who is challenged or a stroke patient, stay with me till the end and I'll explain all of how you can use the same process, but changing it up a little bit to help them also. All right, so let's go through the core products that you're going to need today. You will need a 3-ring binder. Now, the one I've selected also has the clear pocket on the front, but it goes all the way around the book. Now you can put your cover page in here. You can also do a spine cover, and you can do a back cover. And the one I've chosen isn't very large. You can choose your book by how far you want your story to go. You're also going to want sheet protectors to protect your artwork, especially if you're dealing with small children, which this project is basically geared towards the little ones. This way, you don't have to worry about sticky fingerprints on your artwork, okay? Now, you're also going to want some 65-pound cardstock or better. Now, go with a neutral color. You can choose any color you want. You can mix them up, but stay fairly neutral. You're also going to want some stencils, and there are so many to choose from. Now, today I will be using the Lavinia Stamps Leaf Trail stencil. I'll also be using the Elements ink in Olive today. You're going to need a stencil brush, photo corners, and you're going to want some high quality photo corners. Okay, you can get these in all different sizes, all different colors. I chose the clear ones. Low-tack tape. Sweet Poppy stencil I found was the best for this project. However, you can use whatever low-tack tape you prefer. This one worked the best for me. All right, so there's your core products. I will be bringing in more products as we go through, and I will tell you what those are as we do it. All right, so let's get busy. Now, there are 2 other core products that you're also going to want to have. Now, first one being a set of colored pencils, the other one being a pencil box. Now, you can get plastic pencil boxes so you can add more things into it later, or you can get a pencil bag. All right. Now, if you're working with a stroke patient, you can find pencil bags that will actually clip right into your 3-ring binder. And that way you have the pencils and your project all in one folder. All right. Now, by doing that, you don't have to worry about your kids getting into your good products and stuff. This can be a tool just for them. Okay. So if you get the pencil boxes, I'd even go as far as to put their name on it and have a special little place where it lives in your craft room. That way they know that's their tools. They're not going to be messing with yours. All right? So with that being said, let's get started. So I've taken my 3-ring binder. I've already done a cover for my book. I've also done the spine cover for it. Now you can decorate these any way you want to. Now for mine, I just took a piece of the SceneScapes Stardust paper from Lavinia Stamps. And I just stamped my 2 main characters on here and a little bit of foliage. Okay? Super simple. Now, let's get into the book. Now, if you've been watching Nia's Adventure and following along, we started out with the Once Upon a Dream. And then we went to Nia's Adventure Begins with the signpost. We also did the Elven Forest, the Dragon's Wood, and Toad Castle. All right. So those are the videos I've done for it. Now, grab those little ones, because how do you keep a kid interested in something? By bringing them in the process. Okay, anybody can make a book, give it to your child, and they're going to love it. But they're only going to play with it for a short time. How do you keep them interested? By bringing them in and letting them be part of the process, along with changing things up along the way. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now, okay? So we're going to start out, and the storyline kind of goes of once upon a time, Nia had a dream that she was going on a wonderful adventure, and she was taking her best friend with her. And then they went to the signpost to find where they wanted to go next. All right, this is where you bring the little ones in. Remember I told you about the gift to whoever you give it to? That gift is, one, your time. Kids want nothing more than to have time with you. The other thing is giving them the gift of imagination and creativity. And we're going to do all that right now. Okay? So now you're going to ask them where they think Nia and Lupin are going to go first. All right? Perhaps they say the Elven Forest. Write that down. Okay? So your next question is going to be, who do they think lives in these little pixie houses? Now, I know when I did the video, I threw a lot of you by putting those little pixie houses in. But now it makes sense, because now you're going to ask them who lives in those pixie houses. And perhaps you pull out a couple of stamps with fairies or little animals, whatever it might be. Let them pick who they think lives in the house, all right? Now, Lavinia Stamps made some fabulous stamps of the houses, along with the pixie houses, of course. These all kind of mimic these little pixie houses. Okay, there's the shanty, Harrietta's house, and Freya's house. Any of these will work. So now you're going to take one of these stamps, and the animal or fairy that they chose, and you're going to stamp it down, okay? And you're going to keep it really basic. You're just going to put in a little bit of green on here and a little bit of blue for the sky and maybe some grass, and leave it at that, okay? Now you're going to have them color it. So now they're going to use their imagination as to what color it should be and be creative in their coloring. And that way it's a piece that's theirs. And then we're going to add it to the book. All right. But we're keeping it really basic. Again, much like the signpost. Okay, so now we're going to take their piece and mount it into the book. Now, this is a mock-up I did. So, of course, it's not colored. And I didn't blend the ink really well. This is just to show you how you're going to do it. Now, I did mount it onto another piece of cardstock just by gluing it on. But it makes the piece more sturdy. So when you're popping these in and out of the book, you're not going to have to worry about perhaps catching the edges or crimping the paper or possibly even tearing it. All right. So for this, we're going to grab our stencil. Again, this is the Leaf Trails by Lavinia Stamps. I'm also taking my Elements Olive ink and my blending brush. Now, we're just going to go in, and I'm just going to pick one corner. You can do it any way you want to. For this, I'm just going to be doing the one. And just going in somewhat light-handed. Not too heavy. Just bringing that color around. And this is just going to add a little interest to this Okay, and that's pretty good. So it's just really light, but it's there. Okay, now we're going to mount their piece onto the page. Like I said, you're going to be popping these in and out of your books. That's why we're going to be using the photo corners. Now, when you buy these, quite often they're set up in a box if you haven't used them like this. So as you pull, the corners come out down here. But when you're working with bigger pieces, you don't want to get your fingers on that adhesive. I found that just by opening that. Now you can bring them out. Just slide your corner in and go around your piece. And then you're not touching that adhesive on those corners because you want them to stick as good as they can. Now that's the part that was crimped a bit from the box. So we'll skip that one and go to this one. All right. So now your corners are on. Now you're just going to place their piece down and just pop them. And there you go. And now add it to your book. Now, perhaps you want to end your session there with the little ones. If you're a parent and you work full time, I know how busy it can be and how crazy life can get. So perhaps throw a load of laundry in before you go into the craft room and just take a half hour of your time. Maybe you do it every week. Maybe you do it every other week. Write it down on the calendar. That way the kids know when it's their time with you and they're going to expect it. So you have to hold yourself to it. Set it up as if it were a meeting, all right? And it doesn't have to be long periods of time. Just short periods of time, but give them something to look forward to also by putting it on your calendar. Now, we're going to place their page in the book. Okay, so now perhaps you're in the second session with your little ones on the project. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take their piece that we had mounted up and placed on their paper. Now you're going to pop it out and ask them what they think their picture needs. All right, perhaps pull out some stamps. Perhaps suggest using the Lavinia stamps. This is a fairy path. And placing that down on their piece. Okay, now the great thing is by using those photo corners and being able to pop your pieces out, you don't have to worry about these pieces getting sticky fingers or anything on it, or having an accident with it. And by doing this, if you're not comfortable with stamping some of the bigger stamps, you can use your stamping platform. This piece is not going to fit in your stamping platform, but this piece will. So go ahead and stamp down that path. Now, while they're busy coloring their path, go back to the original piece with the signpost and say, you know, I think this piece needs a little something extra in it also. Now, I've actually scanned this piece because I haven't shown my book to anybody else yet. So I've scanned it. My colors didn't come out exact, but now just by taking the Lavinia, and this is the tree scenes, now I can start building up my background. All right, just by placing some of the trees in. And again, we're going to build these up slowly over time, the same way we're going to build their pieces. And that way it keeps them more interested in the book. All right, now, just by taking your Sweet Puppy stencil tape, because you've matted these pieces onto another sheet of paper, you don't want those mats getting ink all over them. So you're just going to take your Sweet Puppy stencil tape and place it over the top of your mat. just like that. So now when you stamp down on it, you're not getting that ink on the mat, okay? And again, you're just going to keep building that up slowly. So now you've got a couple of trees, and they have a path, all right? So now you're going to put these back in the book again, and place theirs back in the book again. And we're just going to skip that part and go to this. Now, their first place they thought Nia should go was the Elven Forest. Now, if you followed my video, you may already have a completed piece to pop in here. If you haven't done this piece yet, you can do it by yourself, or you can bring the little ones in for suggestions. That's up to you. Now, if you haven't done this piece, perhaps don't fill it in as much as I did, because then you can add to it. All right. I also did a piece that states where they are. Now, if you have a child that's enjoying this process, you may want to do something like this and use it as chapters. Okay, this I just printed off of my computer. Super simple to do, but now you can keep building up the Elven Forest by what they think it is. Now, one of the questions you can ask them, if you've used the door or a door, is what they think is behind that door. Now, we've talked about a gift for you. What is that gift? One, it's spending time with those kids. Make it enjoyable. Two, if you live in the States, you've probably seen a load of commercials talking about as you age, you need to be aware of your brain health. You know, keep it active. And it's usually having to do with playing some video games or something. Well, being that you're a creative person, you're going to take those little ones' suggestions and you're going to start creating pieces using their suggestions. So now you're going to be using your imagination and your creativity to figure it out. All right. So that's a gift to you. You get to spend time with the kids and you get to use your creative ability. All right. Now, perhaps you ask them what they think the elves live in. Nellie's Choice has a fabulous stamp. This one is called the Summer Castle. Now, the same thing that we did with the little shanty. Whoops, I haven't popped this back in yet. Doing the same thing we did with the shanty and putting it on a bigger paper. Place this down on it, stamp it down, and let them color it. So now they're yet creating another page for the book. Okay, now you're going to add that in once they've done it. And then go back to the signpost yet again and ask them what location they think they will be going to next. Now, if you followed my videos, the next place we went was the Dragonwoods. So, yet another pretty much complete piece. Now, because it doesn't have a door, and maybe there's not much questions that you can ask on this, come up with yet another page. So, by using the Chasing Dreams stamp, perhaps they ask for directions along the way, and you create a piece. Bringing in those kids, doing a layout with your acetates, and taking their information they're giving you and start building it up. Okay? Again, the Dragonwoods then. Now, the next place we went was Toad Castle. Again, I left this one very empty. Now, just by putting a few stamps in at a time, just like we did with a signpost, perhaps you end up with something that looks like this in the end. But again, do it slowly. Keep building them up. All right, perhaps you start out, and I use the Lavinia Stamps Acetate Hill Mask. I always trip on that. Just by using these, I created just a little bit of mountains in the background. Then I took the Nellie's Choice, and I'm so sorry, I have so many stamps all over my desk right now. I took the Bulrush stamp. Just place a couple of those down, and then maybe add in some flowers, but do it over a course of time. I also placed a couple of the Nellie's Choice flying birds in the background. Now, Nellie's Choice has loads of different stamps to choose from. Check them out. These are just a couple that I used in this picture. Now, again, where to go with all of these pieces. Keep going back. Now, back to the dragonwood. You don't have a lot of questions that you can ask on this, but perhaps... Okay, so back to the dragonwood. And I apologize if you see a little glitch in the video. There was a big truck just drove by. I didn't think you wanted to listen to it. All right, so here we are. Again, not many questions to ask about this piece. So perhaps you put a page in ahead of it. Perhaps they meet a friend along the path. And this little friend is Phip from Lavinia Stamps. Now, perhaps he comes with a warning. Careful, Nia. There's a dragon in the woods up ahead. You get the idea. But another page for your book. Now, perhaps the poor little rabbit is just frayed. His nerves are frayed after seeing that wonderful dragon in the woods. And he's exhausted from all the hopping he's been doing. So Nia decides to help him out. Now, here's another stamp from Nellie's Choice. This is a fabulous stamp. This one is the book with owl. All right. So I've stamped it out so you can see it. And perhaps she's looking up a way that she can help her friend. All right. So now she's found something. Perhaps you create another piece. This piece, I just blended in the inks that I used in my first video. And then I took the silhouette of Logan, which matches Lupin, just in a different direction and hopping. All right. Now for this piece, I also used another Nellie's Choice stamp. This one is Starry Sky. And you can see there's all these other ones that they make. And then I just took a potion bottle. And again, just doing the basics on here. Because as you go through the book, keep going back to those original pages and just adding little things to it while the kids are coloring, and ask them what you should do. And perhaps it's just a matter of adding a couple of trees. And then the next time, perhaps you add maybe just the top of one of the houses into your picture just by stamping the top so it looks like he's jumping high into the sky. You can add a moon. You can start adding leaves. Whatever it is, just keep building it up slowly and using the kids' suggestions as you go. All right? And again, when you get to a piece that is finally completed and it looks something more like this or the Elven Forest, start building up that sheet that you mounted it to. All right? Just start out doing it slowly. So, like the Elven Forest, this piece is complete. It's been highlighted, it's been decorated, it's been detailed. I just added in a couple lanterns on here. Now I can keep building across here and coming across here. I can add some foliage up here, the little purple flowers from there. You get the idea. All the while, those kids are creating their own pages by using outline stamps. And the outline stamps are just what they sound like. They're just the outlines, okay? They're not the hard, solid silhouette stamp. Let them color. Let them create their pages. And that way it becomes a wonderful book for you all to share. Now, as they're creating their pieces, before you mount them into the book, grab some sticky notes. These are just small ones. Write their name down, write their age down, and that way you know when it was done. Now, at some point, if they decide that they really don't like the way their page turned out, they can change it up just by taking their piece. Pull this out. You can cut another piece of paper that's going to fit the same size. Let them do another one, all right? And you can pop it back in here. Don't throw this one away because you mounted each piece to a separate sheet of paper. You now have what's considered an invisible pocket in your book. Take that piece that they don't like anymore and stick it in between here. Again, when I said, when they answered the questions, to write it down, not only is that to help you remember in case you get busy, but now it's also a way to keep a record of it. Pop those pieces down inside, date them so you know what day it happened. Perhaps even write just a little paragraph about how your day went or what happened in that day. Take pictures, take videos of the kids doing their pieces and their reactions. Put it on a little flash drive. If you've got the 3-ring binder like mine that has a little pocket, just take that flash drive, stick it right in there, and that way you know exactly where it is, and it's all in your project book. Okay? So, like I said, keep building up your pieces as you go, and eventually, perhaps Nia's adventure begins will start looking more like this, and you can be doing your detail work and more as the kids are coloring, so you'll get to use your creative imagination while they're doing theirs and just spending a fabulous time together. All right? Okay. Now, if you have a child that wants to create a piece much like what you've been doing, consider the Lavinia SceneScape papers. These are absolutely beautiful. There are so many to choose from. These are just a few of them. Now, by just taking your paper, grab your stamping platform and let them pick a stamp, whether it's an animal, a fairy, whatever they choose, and setting it up for them in your platform. Now, this happens to be the Night Watch by Lavinia. Now, by just inking that up and having them stamp it down with your platform, it makes a gorgeous scene just with that one stamp. The great thing about using your stamping platform is if that image doesn't come out perfect, they can always ink up the stamp again and re-stamp it. All right, now perhaps consider adding either some flowers or some trees. These are the Nellie's Choice pine trees. These are called the 3 pine trees. Now, just by putting these back in your stamping platform, let the kids ink them up and press them down. Perhaps you put 2 on one side and 1 on the other. Now they have a completed piece. And they'll be so excited because it's going to be so pretty. And now they have their very own page they made to add into the book. All right? So, just another fun thing to do. So now, let's talk about the people in your life that perhaps challenged or have had a stroke. Now, how can you use this project to help them? Well, much the same way you did with the kids. You're going to be using those outline stamps. Now, quite often, people that have had a stroke will be doing physical therapy with a therapist. one of the tools they use is coloring. The only problem is usually it's pages from a children's coloring book. So not only is it a subject that they probably really don't care about, but it's also usually a big picture, which if you've lost any kind of motion range in your hand or your arm, looking at a huge picture is going to be overwhelming. This is where your stamps come in, because now you can take your stamps and tailor something just for them in subjects that they like. All right, how are we going to do that? Well, you're going to start out your first session together just bringing in a few stamps you think will appeal to them. Now, don't grab a whole load of them because you're going to overwhelm them. Just grab a few. All right. Now, have them pick which stamp they like the best, and that's the one you're going to use. So now they have the choice of what they want to work on. All right. Grab your stamping platform again, just like you did with the kids. You're going to set that stamp where they want it, and you can ink it up, or you can help them ink it up, or maybe they can do it by themselves. Make them part of it. Now, press it down. Have them press it down, because while they're pressing it down, they're going to be using those affected muscles. It's going to help build up their strength, okay? So, help them press it down, and if they don't get a good image the first time because you've used that stamping platform, ink it up again, do it again, have them help. All right, you're making them all part of this process. Now, Sweet Poppy Stencil and Nellie's Choice both make fabulous stamps. Sweet Poppy Stencil just came out with a fabulous range of different flowers. They also have different sea creatures and animals, but they're drawn to appeal more to an adult group rather than children. Okay, Nellie's Choice has a huge range, anything from fairies to scenic stamps. And what I mean by that is, for instance, here's one. This one's a water scene. Now, this one also has a little boat in it. It has trees, it's got the water, the sky. All of that can be colored, and they make several different ones similar to this. They also have different hillsides and cabins and all kinds of stuff, so you can tailor your project to their liking, and yet keeping it on a scale that's not overwhelming. Okay, so depending on how much ability your person has, you can tailor the project to fit that. Now, you may want to just start out with a single stamp. Perhaps you start out with just a flower stamp. Again, have them color it in. And then if they still want to keep going, perhaps you stamp another flower. Or if they're tired at that point, because let's face it, they're trying to retrain all those muscles that aren't working correctly. It's kind of like when you've been in the house all winter long, and the first nice day you decide to go out and try to clean your entire yard. Your arms are going to hurt. Your legs are going to hurt because you've been working those muscles you haven't used in a long time. They're dealing with that on a daily basis. So, keep it simple. Maybe to start, you can judge how far they can go then. And when they decide they've had enough, you stop for that day. And you can start again on another day. All right, now again, with the coloring. Now, as they color, they're going to be using all those little muscles, retraining those muscles again. But in the process of coloring, they're also picking out the different colors that they're going to want on their piece. So they're using their imagination. They're using that creativity. Now, the fabulous thing about your brain is it can find ways around a problem. After having a stroke, you usually have an area in your brain that's affected. By using your imagination and your creativity, along with other tools that they're given, they can reform new pathways in the brain around that affected area. So your project now can help them in lots of different ways. And you don't even realize it because all you're doing is sharing what you love with the person you care about. Make it fun. Make it interesting. As Joe Rice says, grab a cheeky biscuit and a brew. Make it a special time together. And perhaps before you leave them with a couple extra pieces that they can work on in between. Just make it fun. Spend that time with them. Videotape them as they're doing it. Ask them questions. Again, just like the kids, write it down. Keep it in the book. And that way you can take those videos after a few sessions and watch them. And you can see the progress that they're making or different things that you want to change to help them. But by videotaping them, now you have that tool to use. All right? So same thing, take those notes, do those videotapes, put their pieces on separate sheets of paper, put all those different things in those hidden pockets in between the pages. Take that flash drive, keep it with your project, and you'll have a complete thing. And you can look back at that later on, somewhere down the road, and have a fabulous book of memories to go through and all that time that you spent with them. And you'll be so glad you did. So, remember, all the stamps that I used today and all the ones that you can choose from for your different projects, you can find at delbellosdesigns.com. All of your Sweet Puppy Stencil, your Nellie's Choice, Cardio, Lavinia, all of them, along with so many other products you can use. All of the products I used today are listed in the description box down below. I hope you'll give this project a try. And I hope that you spend that time with all those special people in your life. And with that, I wish you all a blessed day. And I really hope that you'll always stay crafty.